Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Luke. I'm on TV. So this past Friday was March 3rd, 2017, and it was also the official release date of the new Nintendo video game system, the Nintendo Switch. This is a hybrid system for Nintendo, which means that it's a home game console and a portable gaming console all in one. This really does make sense for Nintendo since they've always done very well on both fronts. So it really does make sense for them to just kind of combine their efforts and put all their eggs in one basket, so to speak. Now this is a really bold move for Nintendo. So I thought what I would do with this video is just kind of give you a real broad overview of the system, tell you what it is, what it does, and how it works. And I'll just kind of share my own thoughts and opinions on it along the way. And then eventually I'll arrive at the end of the video where I will tell you my final word on it and give you my overall predictions on the system and the marketplace. So anyway, so Nintendo has said this is a home game console and a portable gaming console, but they have also said that they do believe that the preferred way to play it is at home using what they call the TV dock. Now, what the TV dock does is it actually charges the unit, which is actually like a tablet, but it also does have a video output on it. So it outputs to your television and can upscale all the way up to 1080p. So that is really nice. So like, let's say you're at home here and you're playing some Zelda, and all of a sudden now you got to go to work. So you can stop your game, you can save it. But what's really cool here is once you leave the house, you can actually continue on with your game. So you can kind of take what they call the Joy-Con controllers, connect it to the tablet, and now it's a portable game system and you can take it along with you. So you could be riding the bus, riding the train, or you could be like this guy, you're just kind of catching a ride to work and you can continue on with your game. So another thing that's cool is, like, let's say you're at work later on and all of a sudden you're on your breaks, you can actually set it up just like this. There's actually a kickstand on the back of the tablet. You can set it up like this and play your game this way, and all of a sudden you might even gain an audience and people start cheering you on and stuff. So I do think that that's really cool. And another thing I really like too is, let's say you're just kind of kicking back here and you're playing some Mario Kart, and all of a sudden somebody comes up and they're like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? And he's like, oh, you know, just playing some Mario Kart. And she's like, oh, cool. And he's like, well, you know what? Do you want to play? He can actually disconnect the one Joy-Con controller, hand it to her, and she's like, okay, sure. And all of a sudden, boom, they're both playing Mario Kart. Now, that is very revolutionary. We have not seen that using one game console. In the past, if you want to do something like that, you might have to have like two 3DSs or two PSPs, and you'd have to link them up together and stuff if you wanted to play the same game, if you wanted to go head-to-head in a race or something like that. That's how you would have to do it. But now, using this, you can actually do it all in one. So that is very cool. I gotta say, I really like that about this system. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can use the controllers too. You can use this old classic style method, which is more like a classic Nintendo NES style controller. You can turn it sideways, play it like that. Or you can actually use the two controllers, and when you do that, that's kind of more along the lines of the Nintendo Wii configuration, although it is quite a bit different. Now you got two thumbsticks when you only had one before, but you also have the more buttons, and the button layout is more closer to like the Super Nintendo. So I think a lot of the Nintendo faithful will really like that about the new controllers. Also, there is some buttons here too, so that is new about that. Also, there is another configuration here using the controller just like this. There's what they call the Joy-Con grip, and it actually does come with the Nintendo Switch in the box, which is really nice. It does have these grips on the back, which is really nice. So what it does is you connect the Joy-Con controllers to this unit, snaps in, and you can use it like a classic controller. When I first saw this, I actually thought it looked similar to like a Sega Dreamcast controller. So that was just the first thing that came to my mind. But anyway, I do think that's pretty cool, and it is nice that they included that in the box. Now, there is another controller option, which is this, what they call the Pro Controller. It is sold separately. I believe it's like $50, $60, or $70 here in the United States, which is a little unfortunate, but it is really nice that they do give you another controller option. That is really nice. So this is more along the lines of like an Xbox 360 or Xbox One controller. So I do think that that's really nice. Also, another thing about these Joy-Con controllers is it has like this IR camera on the end of it. So it shoots out this like a beam of light, and you can wave your hand in front of it and it can pick up movement and objects and stuff like that. I do think that's really intriguing. Nintendo hasn't talked much about it, but I do think that's really interesting. And I hope that maybe some developers will make interesting use of it sometime. Now, I wanted to show you this video too. It's just giving you a real comparison of the actual tablet and then the Wii U game controller pad here. Of course, the Wii U was not a self-contained unit. That actually received the signal from the Wii U console, so it was not a self-contained unit like the Nintendo Switch is. But I am told that the screen size is exactly the same, but it is a little bit smaller here, and it is much thinner, so it's going to be probably much more comfortable to hold. And also the screen quality is supposed to be quite a bit better too. So I just wanted to show you the comparison. It is very close, but it is a little smaller, a little more streamlined, and it's thinner, so it's going to be probably a lot more comfortable hold, which I like. Now, thankfully, Nintendo did decide to use game cards this time. They decided, well, obviously with the portability, they didn't want to use discs, so they used game cards. And game cards are not really that much more expensive to manufacture these days over Blu-rays. So, and they can hold a lot more data too. Well, not more than Blu-ray maybe, but they can hold a lot of data. So that's really nice. It's a really smart decision on their part that they decided to go that route. And they are very small, as you can see here. And also there was a video here that I caught with, it shows you a comparison of all the other sizes of the game cards in the past, or cartridges, whatever you want to call them. You can see the Nintendo DS, the 3DS. They even threw in the Vita here, and then the Nintendo Switch. As you can see, the Nintendo Switch is actually almost exactly the same size as the Vita, which I find to be very interesting. As far as the game case, this is also very interesting. It's almost exactly the same size as the Sony PSP. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So again, it's a hybrid. It's like it's smaller than the standard game case for like the Wii U or whatever, but it is a little bit bigger than like the 3DS cases, which were quite a bit smaller. So it's along the lines of a PSP. So I think that's pretty cool, kind of interesting. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the internal memory, the Nintendo Switch only comes with 32 gigs installed, which is pretty unfortunate. That's exactly the same size as the Wii U was. The Wii U had a lot of flack for that. I didn't like that. I thought that was pretty weak. A lot of people had a lot of nasty things to say about that. You know, as far as the price goes, I mean, when you compare it to like the other systems like the Xbox One or PS4 or even the earlier systems, the 360 and the PS3, they all had a lot of internal memory. They had like, 250 gigs and all that stuff, 500 gigs. And so for the Nintendo Wii to have 32 gigs, which was very meager in comparison, it didn't make it look like a very good value, and I think that's a big part of the reason why it didn't sell very well. But anyway, so the Nintendo Switch unfortunately is going that same route. I'm hoping that maybe Nintendo will eventually increase that at some point, but who knows? It is Nintendo. They do what they want. But anyway, thankfully you can buy these micro SD cards. I don't know exactly what the prices are on that, to be honest with you, but it can go up to like 200 gig. I think maybe even like 250 gig as far as I know. But thankfully it is easily upgradable. Maybe you can get lucky, you can get one of these cards on sale for a good price or something like that, or maybe even own one already. And then anyway, you're gonna need these for your game saves and your downloadable content. I'm told that the Zelda Breath of the Wild actually takes up almost half of the internal memory to start with. So that's just pretty crazy that they just didn't, from the jump, they didn't add enough internal memory. Again, going the same route of the Wii U, which is a head scratcher. I don't know why they would decide to do that. But anyway, here's what you actually get in the box when you buy a Nintendo Switch. You get the actual console, of course. You get the two Joy-Con controllers, left and right. You get the Switch dock. Again, that's like the TV dock. You can charge the unit and also give you the output to the television. You do get that Joy-Con grip that I mentioned, which is kind of nice. And then, of course, the AC adapter and HDMI cable and some straps for the Joy-Con. So that is pretty nice that you get all that stuff in there. You do not get a game, which is unfortunate. That's another head scratcher. You would think they'd be able to throw in at least a demo disc or something, but they didn't give you anything. So now let's talk about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now this is actually getting the highest ratings of any game in recent memory. It's got almost like 10 10s straight across the board from all major video game critics. I've never seen that before, so that's pretty unprecedented. Now, also, this was also developed on the Wii U, so thankfully you do get a Wii U version of this as well, although there are some differences which I will point out here. This is the Nintendo Switch version, and this is the Wii U version. Now, you're not going to maybe see a lot of differences, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this because I'm taking a video of my screen here. But if you really look here, you can see that the drive distance is quite a bit better. You can see a little bit better color, maybe some better lighting effects here. Link is actually much taller here than he is here, just because of the texture mapping and the scaling. It's just quite a bit better on the Switch versus the Wii U. I am told that the Wii U version does run at a native 720p. I believe that the Breath of the Wild actually runs at 720p on the portable side of the Switch, but when you use a TV dock station, it actually upscales to 900p. So that's pretty nice. It does run at a native 720p, and it is upscaled, but you are going to eventually get a better picture since it is running upscaled. But anyway, so this is a comparison. It doesn't look a whole lot different, but it does look a little bit noticeably better in that version. Now this is another screenshot. Now this is actually pretty obvious here. Again, this is the Switch, this is the Wii U. Now if you look at the coloring, this is just crazy. Like you can see how nice this is. Like the mountain is like a nice, like a charcoal gray color here. And all of a sudden on this Wii U version, it's a real ugly green. I don't know why it looks like that. It shouldn't look like that because the Wii U had a lot of really nice looking games. It shouldn't look ugly like it does here, but this is what it looks like. To me, it almost seems like they're almost doing that intentionally. Like they're maybe want you to think, man, this game looks horrible. I got to get the Switch version. Or something like that. Just it seems like it was intentional because it shouldn't look that bad. But anyway, this is what it is here. And again, you can see that that dry distance here looks quite a bit better. You can see a lot more detail in some of the buildings here and the grounds and the trees and stuff like that. And the coloring and the overall texture and the sharpness and the detail. So it looks quite a bit better in this screen here. This next screen, again, not a big difference as as the second screenshot, a little closer to the first screenshot. But when you really look, you can see some differences here. Again, you can see the color saturation. The lighting is quite a bit better here. A little more detail in Link here in the mountains. The lighting effects on the water are a little bit better. But still, I gotta say, in this screenshot, the Wii U version still looks pretty nice and probably very playable still. So but it just really comes down to whether or not you really want to spend the extra money to get the Switch version. At least right now, the Switch version is probably the definitive version. But if you really don't want to spend that extra money, you could just as easily pick up the Wii U version. Granted, you have one, and you could play that, and you could probably still really enjoy the game. So anyway, so now the next question is where is Mario? You would like to think that there's a really good Mario title at launch. Well, there isn't, unfortunately, but there is a Mario game in the works. It's called Super Mario Odyssey, and from what we've seen so far, there's this video of Mario kind of running around this city, which looks kind of like New York City. And it looks kind of like, obviously the graphics aren't super ultra realistic, but it's in a realistic type setting. Like I said, kind of like in the city. And so we got this other screenshot here. You can just kind of see him running and jumping and throwing his hat and stuff. So what I saw in the video wasn't very impressive, but it is kind of interesting. And it is Nintendo, it is Mario, so you can kind of give them the benefit of the doubt that when it finally does release, it will be something pretty big, it will be pretty impressive, and it will be probably highly rated, especially after Zelda. I mean, Zelda is getting amazing reviews. It's considered probably the best Zelda so far, probably. A lot of people are going to say Ocarina of Time is still the best game, and that's fine. But Breath of the Wild is getting amazing reviews. But, you can put money on that Mario is going to be a really good game when it finally gets released, because they always are. I mean, you got Super Mario Sunshine and then Galaxy, and all those games have gotten really great reviews. And so, when this game finally comes out, it'll probably be something very special. So anyway, so that's been my overall overview of the system. What I actually think is going to happen with the system is I think Nintendo is going to eventually put themselves in second place behind Sony. I think Sony has so far of a lead right now. It's so far that they can't really catch up. Nintendo really has an uphill battle right now, especially after the huge disappointment that the Wii U was. I think they kind of lost a lot of faith in their consumers. I think they're always going to have that Nintendo faithful and the hardcore Zelda and Mario people that are always going to buy the systems and stuff like that. But I do think that they've kind of lost a lot of consumers have lost faith in Nintendo. So it is going to be an uphill battle, and the price tag at launch is a little on the high side. Again, when you consider that the internal memory is pretty meager when compared to PS4, Xbox One, which is what their main competitors are right now. So I do think Sony's kind of doing everything right now. I mean, they just recently put out the PS4 Slim and the PS4 Pro, and then they put out the VR headset. And I think they're just kind of really hitting their stride. They just recently put out some really nice looking games, and they got some really cool looking games coming soon. You got the Gran Turismo game coming. You got some really interesting VR titles coming in spring and summer. So it's going to get pretty interesting, I think. But on Microsoft's side, I do think that they're really struggling right now. They don't have a lot of really great exclusives right now. Maybe at E3 there might be some really big announcements as far as like Halo, Gears of War, like, you know, their main franchises. Also, they do have the Scorpio coming at the end of the year. So we're going to learn about that. We're going to learn about the price tag on that, which is said to be probably on the high side. So it's going to be probably out of reach for a lot of people at launch. But it really does come down to the titles. If they can get really good exclusive titles that people really want to buy, that's what they want to do. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, they are still Xbox One games. So it's going to be an uphill battle for Microsoft as well. So, but anyway, I think Nintendo is putting themselves in a pretty big, really good position. They're going to do some big things with the Switch, I think. Again, it's a home game console and it's a portable gaming console. And again, they always do very well on both fronts. So I think that eventually, once they hit their stride, I think they'll do very well. So anyway, so this has been my overview and my own thoughts and opinions on the Switch. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you next time.